Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by Virginia College Savings Plan. Save for tomorrow's higher education expenses with Virginia 529's 4 flexible tax-advantaged college savings plans. Details at virginia529.com. And by the Greater Richmond Chamber Save Low Fares campaign. Richmond is in danger of becoming one of America's most expensive airports again. Flying AirTran, Southwest, and JetBlue supports airline competition. Details at savelowfares.com.
Laying out with a headlong dive. Did he make that catch? It's Laze. And Laze with a miraculous catch. Duran kicks and fires. Swing and a miss. He struck him on with a changeup. And the Squirrels are the champs in the West.
Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome to another episode of Flying Squirrels Insider. Anthony Oppermann alongside my broadcast partner, John Laaser. And Laze, it's hard to believe, first and foremost, that a month in the season's already in the books. And, you know, for the Flying Squirrels sitting right around the 500 mark, trying to find their way here to start the year and making some adjustments along the way.
Well, it's also hard to believe that this is already our third installment of Flying Squirrels Insider, and I think right now we reflect that play of the team on the field. We're trying to find our way a bit here in the PBS studios and hopefully doing a good job of that. But yes, it's remarkable each and every year as the games and the days tick off from the season, and what at first looks like a climb to the top of a 142-game mountain becomes a little more manageable as you get a few weeks under your belt.
Well, we've got a lot in store for you here on Flying Squirrels Insider this episode. Coming back, Laze and I will look back at the first month of the season, including some of the adjustments the top prospects are making. We'll talk about the Flying Squirrels resident surfer, and also John Laaser giving Squirrels catching prospect Tommy Joseph hitting tips. Yes, I said that correctly. Laze getting Tommy Joseph hitting tips. Obviously, you won't want to miss that, and you also won't want to miss Laze's conversation with Flying Squirrels first baseman Wes Hodges. That and more on the way here on Flying Squirrels Insider. Back here on Flying Squirrels Insider, Anthony Oppermann, along with my broadcast partner John Laaser. And Laze, as we talked about in the open, a month of the season in the books, and one of the things that's always interesting to follow is the progression of some of the young prospects coming up and experiencing this level for the first time. Now, obviously, for a lot of the Giants farmhands, huge transition coming up from the High A California League to the Double A Eastern League, and we've seen that transition and that progression from guys like Gary Brown, Tommy Joseph, and Eray Adrianza.
Well, I think it's very rare, Ops, and I think sometimes the players don't even expect how that transition is going to go. It's very rare, as I was saying, to come up here and dominate the Eastern League right off the bat because you have so many things going against you. You don't have a familiarity with a lot of the pitchers, a lot of these guys playing in bad environments weather-wise for the first time in their careers. So you don't necessarily expect a guy to light the world on fire at the beginning, which I think is why the last couple of weeks have been very encouraging. You can definitely see advancement and progression at the plate from Tommy Joseph, most noteworthy. But over the last few days, Gary Brown's gotten it going at the top of the order, and so much affected in that Flying Squirrels offensive approach with what Brown does or doesn't do. Adrianza comfortable in the field from the outset and seemingly swinging the bat very well from the right side of the plate beginning the season, and now starting to get it going a little bit on the left, and his on-base percentage rising as his selection process has gotten better. So I think certainly positive direction headed in for all three of those headline prospects on this club, and the wins and losses really reflected more so than with a lot of minor league clubs because so much youth impacting this lineup, particularly with our guest later in the show, Wes Hodges, out for a week or so with a quad strain.
Now, Laze mentioned the fact that Tommy Joseph has been making some adjustments. We're going to find out why a little bit later on in the show, so you want to stick around for that. But, you know, Laze, we talk about guys making those adjustments, coming up to this level for the first time. One of the guys that's done that and made it look relatively easy is Squirrels second baseman Ryan Cavan. I mean, of all the guys coming up from High A San Jose to the Eastern League, here's Cavan that just has seemingly made that transition seamless.
Well, I have a theory as to guys that can come up and have that success, and it goes something like this. When they're free-spirited and they use bra for bro as a synonym, things seem to go well. And I say that with a little bit of humor involved in it, but some sincerity as well, because Kevin has come in, he's been rock solid over the last couple of years. He's a hard worker. I know the Giants instructors, including Shane Turner, the field coordinator, just raves about the way he plays the game. But also, he didn't have the world on his shoulders like some of these other guys. He plays with a little bit of a chip, and he's been dynamite on both sides of the ball to this point.
What has impressed you more? His progression offensively or his progression defensively? Because you go back a few years ago, here's a guy who struggled a little bit in the field at second base. But, I mean, he's been rock solid at that position. He certainly was last year in San Jose. He doesn't do anything real flashy at the position, but he makes all the plays, first and foremost. But then you look at what he's been able to contribute offensively, just getting hits. He's shown a little bit of pull power now. He's shown the ability to go the opposite way. So really seems to be maturing as he continues to advance throughout the Giants farm system.
Well, I think I've been most impressed, and I think the Giants would echo this sentiment in his defensive ability, because 2 years ago in Augusta, he led the league in errors at second base as he adopted that new position and worked so hard at it in the offseason. I think that's what impressed people the most, and he took ground balls whenever he could from whoever he could. From what I understand, he would usually delay the ground screw at the beginning of ball games last year in San Jose because he wanted to take an extra few fungos before going in, and that effort pays off. And that's the effort that get noticed because he had the top fielding percentage in San Jose. Now, somehow and sometimes those numbers are skewed, but in Kevin's case, I don't think they are, because he's begun to become more than an adequate second baseman. He makes the routine play, which of course you want at this level, but he makes the extraordinary play as well. And I started the season talking about flash and substance. Adrian's a flash on the left side of the infield. Meanwhile, Kevin, the substance on the right side. Well, I think now you've got flash on both sides of that double play combination, and that is a certain testament to the work that Kevin has put in. Offensively, very impressed with the left side. The spray charts, when you look at him as a left-handed hitter, right now looks like fireworks, as Parney Parnell likes to say. There's red line drive indicators all throughout that. He hasn't got a ton of right-handed opportunities, but I know he can hit from that side as well. And it's a funny story as it pertains to how he became a switch hitter. That happened in T-ball, apparently, as his father, who was coaching his T-ball team, was trying to take mercy on an inept opponent out in California. I didn't realize it was so competitive out in California T-ball. It certainly wasn't where I'm from in Minnesota, but he said, why don't you go up there and hit right-handed? Well, he did, and he hit one farther than he had left-hander. He's been a switch hitter ever since, and as we see with his defense, he probably went after it with that bulldog mentality, worked on it all the way through high school and college, and now he is a very prolific hitter from both sides.
You know, sometimes in baseball, we have a tendency to read too much into stats, but there's one thing that really jumps off the chart, and that's the fact that the Flying Squirrels have been tremendously successful at home at the Diamond. And Laze, that continues. Flying Squirrels enjoying a walk-off win against the New Britain Rockcats to open up that series in 13 innings. Juan Perez hitting that walk-off 3-run shot. I mean, it's just something about the Diamond and the atmosphere that really seems to energize this team, because it is a staggering number in terms of the success the team has enjoyed at the Diamond.
Yeah, I think for a year or so, you could look at it as an aberration and say, okay, they played mildly better at home, and the record wasn't quite so staggering. We saw that wildly skewed last year. When you're talking about 20 to 25 game swings in terms of success, home and road, there's something to that, and it's not coincidental. I think you hit on the key word, which is energy, because having now been to all the environments in the Eastern League, and this again is not a knock on them, it's just a feather in the cap of the fans here at Richmond and the operation that puts them there, in that there's an energy there that I don't think you feel at a lot of AAA parks. The Diamond structurally, for all that its flaws, aids in that because it's loud, it gets guys into the ball game. But the other thing that I think has to do with winning at home as opposed to on the road, this is about the best type of setup schematically for a ballpark for a team constructed the way the Flying Squirrels have been over the last 3 years. Because with the exception of the second half last year when you added the aforementioned Hodges and Dominguez to that lineup and you had some pop, this has been more of a small ball type roster. Well, that power on the other side that maybe gives teams an advantage in their home park is negated by, of course, the spacious confines at the Diamond. So I think you combine those two factors, the energy more so, but definitely the latter argument as well, and both things lead to the fact that this ball club continues to look, feel, and perform differently here in the River City.
As always, we like to get people caught up on the standings and what's going on in the Eastern League. And kind of as it was last show, Harrisburg and Akron pacing the Western Division, and maybe no surprise. For Akron, they've gotten some outstanding starting pitching. That has definitely been huge. And for the Harrisburg Senators, as our good friend and broadcast partner Terry Byram has said, over the first couple weeks of the season. This may be the most exciting team that Harrisburg has had in 10 years in Harrisburg.
Well, you look at the Akron Arrows, and they pace the division right now, and it's not all that surprising that they're up there because they have that blend of youth and the prospect players, but also some veteran guys that you know can hit and you know can perform on the mound. Now, T.J. McFarland, who we'll talk about a lot during those matchups, has been outstanding, but what's been interesting to note, the knuckleball. The knuckleballer who transitioned to that last year, Stephen Wright, the Squirrels saw him a couple times in that role. He's obviously gotten better at that because his ERA just slightly over 1 right now, and he's really carrying that starting staff. Then offensively, Jared Gettert, a guy who I know Wes Hodges played with for years in the Indian system, tearing it up right now, as is Tim Fedroff. And then the prospect catcher, Chun Chen, also doing a fantastic job. So you can see that. They've got productivity spaced throughout that lineup, and they're getting very deliberate and effective starting pitching. So Akron, not surprising at the top. Harrisburg constructed entirely differently. They're built on speed under first-year manager Matt Lecroy. Jeff Cabernis has been absolutely a thief thus far this year. He's stolen 19 bases already through, I believe, 20 games. So obviously, anytime he's on, he's running, and it looks like that's going to be a more high-octane team than we saw last season when they were more of a put them on and knock it over the fence type ball club.
Now, the Flying Squirrels, to start the year, have somehow found their way to the Eastern Division a little bit more than the Western Division. The only 2 Western Division opponents the Squirrels have faced this far, Altoona and Bowie. That'll change coming up here in the month of May. But, for the Squirrels, not only facing Reading and New Britain, but 2 of the better teams in the Eastern Division in that regard. New Britain has fallen off a little bit. Reading, though, continues to still show that this could be a team that is there to stay throughout the course of the season.
And I think that's a trend that's going to continue, Ops. In seeing New Britain for the second time, got them at our place rather than in the cold environment that was New Britain Stadium to open the season, you start to see some deficiencies with that roster. They're still a very solidly put-together ball club, but those arms weren't quite as impressive, particularly in the starting rotation. Squirrels able to take 2 of 3 in that series. And again, they're going to be right there because they can hit a little bit and they can pitch it a little bit better. But Reading, I think, is the best team that the Squirrels have seen to this point without having seen Akron because of that consistency throughout the order. Now, the Squirrels starters, Chris Heston, Mike Kickham in particular, did an outstanding job really shutting down that offense in a hitter's park up at First Energy Stadium. But unfortunately, the Squirrels' bats didn't show up as much for that series, so they can continue to struggle against the Arphils in the win column. But I continue to believe with who they have there. Trevor May was, I know, who I voted as Player of the Month, 5-0, and off to a tremendous start as the Phillies' top prospect. So you can just list guys off, and I think most of them are going to be there for a while.
We're only a month into the season, and so obviously at this point of the year, it's all about making adjustments. That's the same here on Flying Squirrels Insider. But when we come back, John Laaser sitting down and working with Flying Squirrels catching prospect Tommy Joseph, making those hitting adjustments. Yeah, that's right. John Laaser working with Tommy Joseph on hitting. I promise you, folks, this is going to be one that you're going to want to stick around for, and that's next here on Flying Squirrels Insider.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by Virginia College Savings Plan. Save for tomorrow's higher education expenses with Virginia 529's 4 flexible tax-advantaged college savings plans. Details at virginia529.com. And by the Greater Richmond Chamber Save Low Fares campaign. Richmond is in danger of becoming one of America's most expensive airports again. Flying AirTran, Southwest, and JetBlue supports airline competition. Details at savelowfares.com.
Welcome back to Flying Squirrels Insider. Once again, we have moved it to the diamond. I'm not quite sure why we're down here, but we're about to find out. Now, joined by hitting coach Ken Joyce. And Kenny, you know I'm very busy, right? I'm the voice of the team. I cook you guys meals. I clean up after batting practice. What is so important that I need to be down here today?
Well, Laze, it's not very often I call you down here, but we got a situation that I'm a little concerned about. We got Tommy Joseph, who's probably one of the best power-hitting prospects in all of baseball right now, and unfortunately he hit 2 home runs last night, which is okay for him, but Major League averages the last 5 years have come out to say that when you hit hard line drives, your average is only 740. When you hit soft line drives, your average is actually 743. So we want Tommy to hit for a little better average. Who better to show him than you?
Yeah, when you want a soft line drive, you got this guy.
That's all it's all about right there. You coming down, showing him how to hit soft line drives off the handle.
He'll be hitting gorks and dying quails before you know it.
And that's all we're asking for.
Let's do this. All right, Tommy. Now, a couple of keys to hitting the ball soft. The first thing that I've worked on my entire lifetime is to never build any upper body strength. You're already way behind on that. So we're going to have to compensate for that by being unready to hit. What I mean by that is every time I see you, you're locked in, you look like you're focused, glaring out at the pitcher. That's no good. You know, let's get a smile going. There's some gals in the stands, you know, loosen it up a little bit. Just be behind the pitch, and you'll be flaring the ball in no time. Good?
Those are the keys to success?
The keys to some of the success, yes.
Okay, I'll see what I got.
All right. Why don't you hop on out? I'll show you how it's done, how we used to do it in the old school. 1 for 1. Little comebacker. That's where you use your legs. Oh yeah, little one-handed finish. You got to be prepared to learn. I don't know if you've been told that before, but that starts with wardrobe. See right here? Got to embrace the underdog mentality. Sweep the leg. Machio.
Okay.
Feel it. See right there. Oh yeah. Handle shot stings a bit, but your average will thank you. A little rope-a-dope tactic. Get a little bend going.
That's what I'm talking about right
Yeah,
there.
right there. Handle shot.
That's what I'm talking about. Off the handle. Just over the infielder's head.
Yeah, we call that one the Texas two-step. Filet mignon. That's the Mexican hat dance. Oh, that's it right there. Juan Perez isn't catching that. Getting all this, Tommy?
I think I got it.
All right.
Let's see if I can do it.
See if we can put some of these things in, gang. Way too serious. Wait, come. Were you even listening? Oh yeah, that's gonna get you to the big leagues. One-handed finish. Got to get a little noodly in the legs. He's uncoachable.
That boy Laze.
Who's gonna pay for that wall? Better. Still looking a little too confident. Give him the rope-a-dope. Okay, okay. Oh. There it is. Oh yeah, that's a double on a windy night.
All right.
Now, back to the same old stuff again. Hey Tommy, thanks for coming out today. I know you got to suck it up a little bit to try to get better. I appreciate it. You handled it well.
Thank you.
I've got one more piece of veteran wisdom that I can show you. I saw you show you how to hit soft. I know you're not going to believe this, but I bet you an ice cold Coca-Cola, one swing, one ball, I can hit a home run 500 feet out of here.
Not a chance.
All right, let's do it.
All righty.
Kenny, can you grab me my special bat?
I got you. There you go, Laze.
Thank you, sir.
Tee it up, baby.
Appreciate it. There we go. Ooh. Little
scoreboard, baby.
Little thin, but it'll do.
So that's how you do it?
That's how you do it.
All right.
Okay, Tommy. Very nice job today. Laze is a man. I told you he could help you out, but I got one question for you. Okay, the average major league hitter, we said with line drives, hits 740. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, guy who hits soft line drives, 743 average. That's what he looks like. My question to you is, which one would you rather be?
I'm going to choose the major leaguer that hits for line drives.
I don't blame you.
I mean, look at the guy.
I don't blame you, man. There you go. It's all about you.
Thanks. More Flying Squirrels Insider next.
Welcome back to Flying Squirrels Insider. Hopefully Tommy Joseph will recover at the plate with the aid of those batting tips. I'm sure they can be quite helpful. And if not, our guest now may be able to help him out as well. We're joined now on the Flying Squirrels Insider set by Flying Squirrels first baseman Wes Hodges. And first of all, Hodgie, thanks for being here, man. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we got to get some business out of order first, or out of the way first, because unfortunately on the disabled list right now, you strained your quad the other day trying to leg out the backside of a double play, and just let everybody know when we might see you back out there again and in the lineup.
Yeah, hopefully in a couple of days. I pulled my quad hip flexor, and it's just kind of, I don't know, taking a little longer than I expected, but I'm working hard to get back out there as soon as possible.
And it's really unfortunate because you got off to a great start this season, and I know I've chatted with you about your overall physical health and your conditioning right now, and you feel like, if I'm not mistaken, it's the best it's ever been, at least over the last few years.
Yeah, no question. I've really worked hard, and as far as taking care of my body and lifting and getting into shape, and I feel great. So hopefully it's just a little bump in the road and get back out there soon.
Wes Hodges is our guest, Flying Squirrels first baseman, and touching on that, kind of the tip of the iceberg, because I know rededicating yourself to the gym and to your physical well-being and your conditioning, making yourself more nimble, was all part of a multi-step process in the off-season. Now, of course, you joined the Squirrels last year about the midway point and really were one of the catalysts in helping this club to the postseason and the success they had there. But at the same time, it came in the midst of a rough season for you because a longtime Indians prospect and a member of the Akron Arrows for years, also Columbus as well, where you were last year, and it's always rough as you were released and coming over, and part of a tough mental bridge, I believe it was, and you thought at times you were going to walk away from the game after last season.
Yeah, it was. Last year wasn't an easy year for me. I don't feel like I performed as well as I should on the field, and I struggled, with, just some stuff, personally, just being, bitter and frustrated with where my career was going. So, yeah, it was a long season, and I'm glad that I kind of got my priorities in order over the off season unexpectedly, and I'm just here again this year, and didn't expect to be here, but excited about it.
Well, a number of great reasons that you're back. First and foremost, of course, because you are one of my top golf partners, and that's really how we take the season and divide it into pieces and get through it, so to speak. But also because I know the decision and the process that got you back to the field has been a really positive one for you, both on the field and off. I believe you called it a spiritual journey. We were talking about it in spring training. It's a pretty cool story, and I'd love if you'd share it with us.
Yeah, no question. I was not going to play baseball, and I was signed up for classes, and I was going to go back to Georgia Tech and finish my degree. And my wife and I attended a PAO conference, a Professional Athlete Outreach conference down in Orlando, and a guy randomly kind of came in my life and spoke some truth in me and said that I'm leaving the game for the wrong reasons, and that I needed to go back and play one more year and play for God and play for the right reasons. And so here I am. But I wasn't convinced at the time, because I knew how mad and frustrated I was, and I knew that I didn't want to go back down that trail again. So I felt this conviction and this sense of urgency to get my life in order, as fast as possible, and just kind of develop the support staff around me of people who kind of poured into me daily and wouldn't let me go down that trail as far as, getting frustrated or bitter, and just kind of stayed positive and had an impact on my life.
You mentioned your wife, Katie, and she's actually here watching this taping of Flying Squirrels Insider right now. I know very supportive of you. She has not been very supportive of me today, including making fun of me when I got my makeup put on today. But in all sincerity, she's at the top of that structure of a support staff that you now have in your life. And tell us a little bit about that, how that works, and how that's really kept you positive even through this injury getting to the park.
Yeah, no question. She's unbelievable, and I'm extremely blessed to have her in my life. And, she's just been there, through the good times and the bad. And, she's just very positive, and she's my biggest, encourager and motivator at times. And she's unbelievable. But, I have other people that call me one day a week, just kind of check in, see how I'm doing, kind of kick me in the butt, get me going if I need it, and just kind of pour into me with some kind of challenge or words of wisdom that just kind of, pick me up.
Wes Hodges joining us here on set of the Flying Squirrels Insider, and certainly glad to have him here. And Wes, we just saw a piece on Tommy Joseph, and of course he's in a position that you were a couple of years ago, very young, highly touted prospect in this system. You got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I know you've had that in your career, certainly now a little more of a veteran in this clubhouse. Definitely not old, I'm not going to call you that here on this set, but definitely not 20 years old either. How do you make that adjustment from being viewed that way to being looked at the way you are now?
For me, I feel like it's been pretty easy because I didn't feel like, when I was in the prospect, status or, had that label, it was tough on me because I feel like you're constantly getting critiqued and, eyes are always on you and, you're trying to please everybody, which is impossible. So I can relate to him because I know the pressure that he has on him. And, I just try to be, very supportive and just say, hey, man, just go out there and, continue to work hard and just do your thing, and it's going to work out. And just don't add any pressure that you don't need.
Real quickly, Wes, before we run out of time, do you view your game differently than you did back then? Can you be more realistic or honest about it, as sometimes some of the younger guys struggle with?
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like I'm still kind of the same player. I feel like I'm a wiser player, and you know, right now I feel like my role in the game is just kind of, you know, helping these guys out and kind of speeding that learning curve up for them so that they don't make the same mistakes that I made.
Wes, thanks for being here, man. We look forward to having you back on the field.
Thanks, John.
That is Flying Squirrels first baseman Wes Hodges. He drove all the way up here with his support staff to help us out on Flying Squirrels Insider. We certainly do appreciate that. We appreciate you joining us, but we're out of time for this week. Looking forward to the premiere this Saturday on WCVE. If you missed that, catch it again on WCVW on Monday night at 8 o'clock. That'll do it for Anthony Oppermann, Wes Hodges, and everybody here on our production team. This is John Lazer saying so long from Flying Squirrels Insider.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by Virginia College Savings Plan. Save for tomorrow's higher education expenses with Virginia 529's 4 flexible tax-advantaged college savings plans. Details at virginia529.com. And by the Greater Richmond Chamber Save Low Fares campaign. Richmond is in danger of becoming one of America's most expensive airports again. Flying AirTran, Southwest, and JetBlue supports airline competition. Details at savelowfares.com.